any dancing, I don't have any singing, I don't have any special things. I do want to make an announcement though. I want to let you know that come Wednesday, Claire and I will be celebrating 42 years. And more to come. 42. Why are we dancing? I am dancing, can't you see? And singing.
Somebody turns out and shouted, play that fucking music.
The new Satya said. Lost control is an illusion. Michael went in the back, but his reading today was really perfect, because for my talk today, and our theme for the whole month is a mindful life. And my talk today, especially being mindful about the effect we have on our lives, on our experiences, on what we create. And so his reading was really perfect to be aware, to know that you make a difference, that you affect your environment, your circumstances, things you attract into your life. All of that energy moves through you, and you have control over that and what you think and what you do. And so this has a lot to do with my talk. Everything to do with my talk. I was reading the other day, and it was about this man, and he was in search of love. He was in search of beauty. And so he followed this butterfly. And following the butterfly, he finally came to a place where he could capture it, and he held it very gently in the palm of his hands. But after doing that, he actually realized that he held that beautiful butterfly, and even if he held it close to his heart, he couldn't see it. He couldn't see the beauty. Could not even feel the love that he was searching for. He had it, but he didn't know it was there. He couldn't really have it. So he found what he was looking for. He found the beauty, but now it was hidden from him. And he really could not enjoy it. And it reminded me of life. It reminded me of how often we don't even realize the effects that we have on our life by our actions and by what we do, on what we receive, what we have, because we hide it away in order to protect it or to preserve it. We've got it, but now it's hidden from us. We lose sight of our dreams and our goals. And all along, they're cupped in our hands or in our hearts. So we are often living on the outside and not on the inside. We do a lot in life. We manage, we organize, we prepare, we fix, we survive. But in the process, we sometimes lose sight. We lose awareness, mindfulness of who we are, of ourselves. Is it possible that you too have found great beauty, that you too have found love, that you too have found joy, but in order to protect it, you've hidden it away. You've kept it to yourself. Maybe in trying to protect it, your intention was such to protect it, but you've even hidden it from yourself. And for so long, maybe far too long, because you secured it so well, you even forgot it was there. You didn't visit it often enough to remind yourself of what you actually have. Because you were too busy. Because you had important things to take care of. And the dream, and the beauty, and the love you had once captured, it would just have to wait. You had things to do. And then, after this long period of time, it was too late to recall. So you went on search for love and beauty once again. Trying to find some peace and some joy. Whatever. This scenario is very common. I think we all do it. And I think it is, to begin with, being mindful. Being mindful and aware. We all spend too much time fretting, holding everything tight, and not enough loving and opening up. Not enough time being grateful, forgiving. Not enough time knowing who we are and what we already have inherently. And not just for those things on the outside that we love and cherish, but also those things on the inside of ourselves, of our own selves. Do you love and cherish yourself? Have you ever thought of that? Do you? How often do you catch yourself walking in the mall, through the grocery store, out in front of your house, and you stop and say, I really like who I am? You ever do that? Sometimes. Maybe you do. Most likely you say it to yourself and not out loud in the grocery store. I really like who I am. Lyle, I really like you. And a little more uncomfortable for some is to say, I love you. I really love who you are. So everybody, what I'd like you to do right now is maybe right now, just go ahead and close your eyes. Enter yourself. And use your own name. I really like who you are. Feel it. Is it comfortable? Is it uncomfortable? Does it feel natural? Is it good? Say to yourself, I love you. I love you. Claire? Now, no one can hear you. Go ahead and do it. And then say something kind to yourself. Lyle, you are considerate and you are kind. Say it to yourself. Mean it. Know it's true. It is absolutely there. If you can think the word, it is true of you. Okay, thank you. Now deep breath, relax. I know it's a little strange. After a while, if you do this, walking down the mall, I really like this body. I really like who I am. It gets more comfortable. I've actually been doing that a long time. It's kind of nice to hear once in a while, too. Sometimes you're going around through your week and things aren't going so well. And nobody's telling you you're a kind and considerate person, or that you're wonderful, or that you brightened up my day, and your smile or your laugh is infectious. It's nice to hear sometimes. Thank you for being here. Okay. The other side of that is partly you may not even remember. You may not even remember the last time you gave yourself a little loving like that. Because if you're like most people that I have met and experienced, you probably spend more time berating yourself than loving yourself. Of all of the things you've done wrong or forgot or didn't do or were bad about, you can probably clearly remember the time when you last thought poorly of yourself versus the last time you really thought you were magnificent. And which one of those attitudes do you think is going to manifest in the 3D world if you give constant attention to it?
Yeah.
Yes, you know this. You know this. It's like that old Indian legend. And you probably all know this, but I'm going to read it to you anyway. An old Cherokee is teaching his grandson about life. A fight is going on inside. He said to the boy, "It is a terrible fight, and it is between two wolves." Whoa. One is evil. He's angry. He has envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance. He has self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority. He lies. He has false pride, superiority, and ego. The other wolf is good. Joy. Give me a minute. I choke myself out. Love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generous, speaks the truth, is compassionate, and has faith. And the fight is also going on in you. And inside every other person. And the grandson thought about this for a moment and said, well, which wolf will win? The one you feed. The one you feed. And that's that truth I'm telling you about. If you're loving yourself, if you're full of love and you have those emotions and feelings, that's what grows. Don't spend all your time self-pity and all the negative emotions, or that will grow. And that's really what my talk is about. I'm talking about the effect you have on yourself with even the tiniest thought or action. A simple word to yourself can have a tremendous effect in your life. Like dominoes falling, one after the other, and it builds and it continues. And has anyone ever heard of the butterfly effect? Probably many of you. Or the trim tab effect. Trim tab was something that Buckminster Fuller used to talk about. Something like that. I'm going to talk about each of those a little bit. The butterfly effect was really summarized by a fellow named Edward Lorenz. Now, he was a mathematician, and he was an MIT meteorologist. And he was also the father of what was called, or the creator of what was called the chaos theory. Now, in the 1960s, funny, since we're in the 2000s, you could say in year 12, and I automatically go to 1912. And it's like, they had an iPhone in 1912? No, 2012. We got to get into the new millennium. I have to caught up with it. So in the 60s, he realized that small differences in a dynamic system, like weather, it's got motion, it's got movement, it's changing, could trigger vast and unsuspected results. He began his research on this because it was so hard to predict the weather. And we've noticed this for years. It's like, why do they not know? It's like, here comes that cloud, and it's going to rain. I can look out the window and see it. Why don't they know in advance? This guy in the 60s was like, oh, this is so hard to predict. Why is that? We always getting it wrong. So he formulated what was called the butterfly effect. And basically, the premise of it, not the premise, but what he had said was, there is an effect in the world that a butterfly flapping its wings could cause a tornado in Texas. And if that's true, think of what one word that you say about yourself or about somebody else. If that is multiplied the same, how could it affect your life or their life or the life of anyone in your community? A butterfly. Now I kind of heard it like this, that a butterfly would flap its wings and maybe a whole bunch of butterflies then took off. And that large amount all at once scared this herd of cattle. And there were thousands of these that started running. And that alarmed all the ranchers. And the ranchers came out there, and they're in their horses, and they're running. And that's caused a big cloud of dust and wind, and it goes into the canyon, and it actually changed the air. The low pressure system pushes the high pressure system in the direction of the air changes going through the valley and coming out the other side. And it was this continuous growth and change to such a degree that by the time it reached Texas, it had caused this huge shift in the wind directions and caused a tornado. It was this growing, changing things, and it was impossible for them to predict the weather. It was known as what he called the deterministic chaos. See, there's underlying patterns. He said there's constant feedback loops, repetition, self-similarity, self-organization, and a reliance on programming, or a sensitive dependence on initial conditions. Okay, now there he's talking about weather, and he's saying all these terms that may not make a lot of sense. What I related to is I'm going to be saying the same thing, but talking about our belief systems. He said initial conditions. I'm saying our own BS. He said loops. I say cause and effect. He said self-organization. I say self-awareness. It's all really the same. So you can see how we could make minute changes in our lives, in how we act, what we say, even what we think. And great effects can happen in your life. Changes in your life, in your own experiences, yes, inside, and in your environment and what's attracted to you. It's all energy. It's like magnetism. It's like gravity. The plasma, the ether, the universe around you changes with your energy like ripples in a pond. A small thought like, I like myself, creates a good feeling inside myself. So I act differently. And maybe I act differently to someone else. I may share a word, a kind word to them about how nice they are. They respond in kind. And maybe it ripples out. Maybe it affects the whole workplace. And you notice similar things happening more often like that now. Interesting. I get a promotion. I get a transfer. I get a new job. I move to Utah. I make a lot of new friends. My whole life changes in ways that I could not have imagined. Do you think as a 15-year-old boy surfing on the coast of California that my dream was to live in Utah? I haven't seen any waves. But here we are. The thing is, this is like one of those spiritual principles. It's one of those things that you can't see or you can't measure, but it has a huge effect on your life. It's there. Be mindful of that. That mindfulness and how it can affect you. It really can. I'm going to repeat myself and impress this upon you. It's huge. Mindful, according to Webster, is being conscious or aware. It is being sensitive. It is being alive. It is being alert. Now, if you've ever had an experience where you are aware of being spiritual, makes you a little bit happier, feel better, where you belong, and it makes you feel better than being angry does, well, you have a choice. You can change that. You can be aware. You can be mindful and know that those spiritual things that make you feel better are the things you probably wanted to promote in your life, correct? Instead of the other side of it. Well, because sometimes we're so busy and we are doing so much. Sometimes we're just not being enough. We get busy and we forget who we are. We become less mindful. What does mindful look like? It's noticing things. How mindful are you when you're eating the food that sustains you, that gives your body energy, that keeps you alive? You ever slow down and enjoy it? Give thanks? Really taste it? Are you mindful? How about your exercise in your body? When you walk, or just move, or do anything. If you do yoga, if you dance. Are you mindful of how it affects you and how it does you well? Meditation, quiet the mind. Mindful service to others. Mindful living. There's a magazine called, believe it or not, Mindful. And in this magazine, I was looking online and saw it, and it quoted, being mindful or mindful living is, by their definition, taking time for what matters. So what matters to you? Don't do what I do and think if I do that, then I'll be happy like him. It has to be what matters to you. Being mindful is taking time for what matters. Subjective. It's up to you. Be conscious, be aware, and notice what works for you. What makes a positive difference in your life? And be conscious of what doesn't work for you. What doesn't support you. Try to make the choice to not do that. That is just as important as the other side of it. And really notice, get out of the autopilot. The autopilot is sort of like you're walking down and there's someone and it's like, how are you? And they say something, but you're gone. You're walking by. Did you really care? Did you really want to hear how they are? Quite often we don't. And quite often they answer out of autopilot, I'm great. And then their eyes are cast down because they're having a horrible day. I'm very hurt. How are you doing? How you doing, Tina?
Doing fine.
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. So that's kind of, you're kind of in the, get out of the autopilot. And if you have the time and you really want to know, then yes, how are you? I've gotten into the habit kind of like, it's great to see you. Because it is great to see you. Thank you for being here. I enjoy your presence. And sometimes, yes, how are you? And if you're not well, let's sit down and talk. Being mindful. You know, you can compliment a person and then all of a sudden they smile. And they actually changes everything. It's like a smile. It's like, wow, look at that. Great things can happen just out of that. Notice, that made me feel better. I want more of that feeling. And I get it by complimenting. Wow. See the sequence? Never noticed that before. Do more of that. I now know how to produce that feeling. It's being aware. It's being mindful. You want to attract more, then smile more. Consciously choose those things. But first you have to be aware of them. First you have to know, and then you can do that. That butterfly effect is a real phenomenon. A small change can compound and grow and make a huge difference in your life experiences. Buckminster Fuller, I told you earlier, talked about the trim tab, and the trim tab is just, it's like you're in this carrier ship out in the ocean, and it's, how big are they? They're thousands of tons, and they can literally carry 1 million tons of cargo. They're huge, and they displace a grand amount of water. And how they turn it is the captain's up front, and the old school is to have this big wheel to turn it and stuff, but it really only takes this little wheel, this little dial. You turn this little dial 1, 2, 3 degrees, and that little dial turns some gears, and that little gear turns this shaft, and it turns a larger shaft, and it goes all the way back to the back of the ship, that half a mile back there. And there's this huge rudders that control it, but there's these little things called a trim tab that are part of that rudder. And that dial turns, and that little trim tab turns, and the whole rudder turns, and then that big old huge ship shifts direction. Little change, and you change the direction of that ship. Little change in your life, change the direction of your life. See? Still with me? Yeah. A few minutes. I was reading in this book. It's called The Tipping Point, and in that book, Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, and the tipping point. I didn't read it all, but it talked a lot about, without explaining exactly how, but that there's tipping points in life, in fashion, in crime, in many different things where it's going along. Hush Puppies was one of the examples. Shoes, you know those, but they were very popular. They were sold millions of them, and then the company kind of faded to the point where got to the point where it's like 1 year they sold like 2,000 pair of shoes across the country. So we're going out of business. Then there was a fashion shoot. Somebody wore Hush Puppies. Somebody saw, oh, I like that. Somebody else wanted to have some of those. And it changed and changed. Within 2 years, they sold 200,000 pairs of shoes. There was just some kind of a tipping point, and it just, the universe and all that was interconnected, acted, they said, conspired to make this change, to make this difference. It's true in your life too. There's a tipping point, and then it just shifts or it just changes. There were a couple of other examples. Those ideas that changed, and I don't have enough time to go into those. There was another one, like a crime rate that had I'm going to do it anyway. No idea why, but it was in New York City, and they had thousands of these serious crimes in New York, in this particular area. And there just was a consciousness of some people in the neighborhood, and there were a few changes here and there, and within this 5-year period, the crime rate had dropped by 64%. Be aware of what you think and what you do and how you act, because it has this domino effect. It has this causality. It has the universe conspiring with you. Your energy combined with all that energy comes into alignment. It's our prayer treatment work. It's all of that comes into alignment, and it moves and it makes a difference. Your attitudes change. What you attract into your life changes. Your experience of things changes, and it compounds. So being mindful and being aware is the difference, in my opinion. You can't always see that law at work, but it's there, like gravity. Through mindfulness, that change happens. That change is possible. And that we do affect ourselves. We do have an effect on the outcome of our experiences. It starts with noticing, and it grows with mindfulness. And my time is at an end. May the lesson begin. Let us close in prayer. Just close your eyes for a moment and join with me. Being mindful of the present moment. Notice the music. Notice the feeling. There is someone sitting close or near to you. It feels a certain way. Reach out with your sensitivity and notice. Know that you are a loving, peaceful, kind, generous, compassionate person. Know that is your desire. I want more of that. Notice what gives you that feeling. Know that you can reproduce that by doing this, by being here. You can do it at home, in the grocery store, walking into work. You can breathe, you can relax. You begin by loving yourself. To love others is best achieved by loving yourself first. I love you. I like who you are. I want to be with you. I want to share with you. I want to learn from you. This all makes a difference. I am so happy to be here. I am so pleased to be among you. I am so rich, so rewarded, so abundant, so loved. This is That's what life should feel like all the time. This is who I am, and it is perfect. So just breathe into that, knowing you are loved, knowing you are lovable and loving, and you do make a difference. You do affect tomorrow, today. You do affect those around you. You are enough, and you are magnificent. To yourself, or out loud, say it with me. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. It is time for us to do offering and blessings. So those who are going to help me with the offering and the ushers to prepare, and for you to prepare by finding in your program the offering and blessing affirmation, and then we will go on from there. So as we're prepared to do that, Leslie's going to play some music for us. Repeat this with me. Joyfully I give with gratitude, for I know that as I give, I am given. I allow the abundant nature of the universe